Welcome. We are visiting Vedic mathematics, science, and technology scriptures. The first scripture being taken up is Surya Upanishad. Surya Upanishad is the Upanishad of Atharvaved. Of Atharvaved domain, it is of Atharv Angiras stream. This scripture, this Upanishad, Surya Upanishad, is Atharv Angiras Upanishad. Surya Atharv Angiras Upanishad is the full designation of this scripture. The scripture is a composition of as many as 8 paragraphs, as it is in a composed form, in a prose format. So this prose of this scripture as paragraphs is subdivided into sentences. There are in all 8 paragraphs. The first paragraph is a composition of 9 sentences. These 9 sentences, in fact, are the 9 progression steps. These are in a sequential progression arrangement. This sequential progression is a range of steps in terms of which the organization of chase of the knowledge domain is being approached. We can say that the knowledge of this scripture is all about Surya, and the organization of this knowledge is as of 9 sequential steps. These 9 sequential steps are Rishi, Chand, Devata, Bij, Shakti, Kilak, Vinayog, Shadang, and Sansthiti. Therefore, to have a proper comprehension of the knowledge domain, we have to be through its organization. The organization is having its first step as Rishi. Rishi is a formulation. This formulation is of triple components. First component is the 4th vowel, which takes us to 4th space. Second component is the 3rd Ushmana letter, which takes us to 6th space. And the 3rd component is the 2nd vowel, which takes us to 2 space. Therefore, this organization step as a triple letters Ri, Sha, and E, leading to triple values 4, 6, and 2, and a step ahead, there emerges a geometric format of 4 space, 6 space, and 2 space. The integrated setup comes to be a coordination of 6 space, 4 space, and 2 space. This coordination of 6 space, 4 space, and 2 space is the dimensional frame of 6 space. 6 space means the space of the sun. Therefore, the very first step as Rishi is taking us to the dimensional frame of a sixth space. Here, Brahma is the Rishi. Therefore, this case of knowledge domain at its first step is to be as Brahma will be through the dimensional frame setup of six space, and as a result thereof there will be a glimpse of the origin of six space. Therefore, the first step as it is taking us along the dimensional frame. If we begin with cube, hypercube 3, three space body, a three space setup, then we will be glimpsing that origin of three space, that is fourth space, is in unmanifest form. The center of the cube is the seat of fourth space. There is a three-dimensional frame at center of the cube. Now, the center of the cube in its unmanifest form is like any other point of the cube. However, the center is unique from every other point as it is equidistant from all the eight corner points. It is this uniqueness of the center which provides center a dual status. The first status of the center is being a point like any other point of the cube. The second status of the center is that it is a origin seat. Here, fourth space as origin is marking its presence. Fourth space as origin would mean that there is a spatial order. Means two space is to play the role of dimension of a fourth space. The first status of the center is as point of three space, and as such it is of a linear order constituent. The second status of the center is that it is a point of a fourth space, so it is of a spatial order. So center is a point on a line, and center is also a point in a surface. It is this feature which will help us appreciate that the formulation Rishi, which is parallel with the dimensional frame setup, therefore, one who will begin a chase of creations beginning with the cube, starting at the center of the cube, will reach at fourth space. It is this reach from three space to fourth space which is facilitated because of the availability of a dimensional frame. Let us have a pause. As a first step, we are availing dimensional frame. Now, the dimensional frame is a synthetic setup of a pair of dimensional frames of half dimensions. This feature is there because of the spatial order of four space. Now, spatial order would mean two space playing the role of a dimension. As two space is playing the role of a dimension, as such pair of axes for the dimension are available. The availability of a pair of dimensions will facilitate split for a dimension into a pair of half dimensions. One shall have a pause. Let us sit comfortably and let us imbibe this particular happening. Happening is the dimension is splitting into a pair of half dimensions. It is this split for the dimension as a pair of half dimensions which will have transition from the first step Rishi to the second step Chand. Chand is the formulation which leads to TC value 19. Now, TC value 19, as it is of the placement of the southern hemisphere, so is sphere which splits into a pair of hemispheres is giving a choice, and this choice is that in this organization we are opting for the southern hemisphere. This split of a sphere into a pair of hemispheres is parallel with the split of a three-dimensional frame into a pair of three-dimensional frames of half dimensions. Let us sit comfortably. Let us comprehend as that because of the spatial order of four space, dimensional frame is splitting into a pair of dimensional frames of half dimensions, and as a consequence thereof, sphere splits into a pair of hemispheres. It is this transition from first step as Rishi to the second step as Chand which brings us face to face with the formulation Rishi being of TC value 12, while the formulation Chand is of TC value 19. Let us have a pass. The difference value 19 minus 12 is 7. And the third phase and stage of this organization is Devata. Formulation Devata is of TC value 26. Let us have a pause. The difference value of the TCV Devata and TCV Chand comes to be 26 minus 19 is equal to 7. And this difference value is equal to the difference value of TC value Chand from TC value of formulation Rishi. It is this feature which deserves to be comprehended well. The sequential progression of organization of knowledge at its third step is 7 units more than that of the second step, while the second step itself as well is of 9 units more than that of the first step. Once we are face to face with this feature, then we can see that it appears that the organization is running parallel with the organization of the Ganita Sutras. Ganita Sutra 1 has a rule one more than before. And Ganita Sutra 2 is having a rule all from 9 and last from 10. Let us have a pause. 1 as a double digit number will become 0, 1. Therefore, 0, 1 and 10 make a reflection pair as the digits 0 and 1 swap their places like object and image through the mirrors. It is this feature of 0, 1 and 1, 0 with difference of 10 minus 0, 1 is equal to 9, which is a point of focus here. Therefore, the sadhakas are fulfilled with the intensity of urge to chase this organization arrangement parallel with the mathematics of the Ganita Sutras. And once one is parallel with these mathematical organization processing steps, then one will be having a full insight about this happening. Let us see that the 9 steps as 9 formulations tabulated in column 2 come to be 188. Value 188 is of the organization 4 into 47, and value 47 is parallel with the flow from orb of the sun as 7 streams, and same reaching up till Pushpika, the fourth pada of soul syllable Om. It is this Jyoti flow through artifices of soul syllable Om which is at work. In fact, the organization arrangement of 9 steps, as these are the same, are having a coverage range of a flow from orb of the sun along its all the 4 dimensions of dimension, and it becomes a universe fulfilled with a jyoti. Let us have a pause. We are having organization of a jyoti flow from orb of the sun which fulfills the solar universe, and this fulfillment of the solar universe with jyoti from orb of the sun is being chased hemisphere wise, and it is this method, this mechanism, this technique, this organization which deserves to be comprehended well. The organization format comes to be that transcendence is to be along the dimensional frame. This transcendence along the dimensional frame will result into split of the dimensional frame into a pair of dimensional frames of half dimensions. Then there will be a transcendence cavity reach at seat of the origin. It is this transcendence at the origin seat which will be of the reach of a southern hemisphere. This reach of the southern hemisphere will ultimately result into the southern hemisphere getting fulfilled with a jyoti flow from orb of the sun. Therefore, the devata, the domain, the knowledge domain being organized is the southern hemisphere fulfilled with a jyoti flowing from orb of the sun. Therefore, the reach of these three steps of organization of knowledge come to be that the solar universe stands split into a pair of hemispheres, and further the southern hemisphere gets fulfilled with a jyoti flow from the sun. In a way, we can say that now we are having a southern hemisphere fulfilled with a jyoti light. So we are in a way handling a light sphere, a sphere fulfilled with light. The light as the volume of the sphere, a balloon filled with light. Now, southern hemisphere filled with a light, or hemisphere of a light sphere. We are having an attainment of the organization format up till the third step as a hemisphere of a light. Light hemisphere is attained. This attainment is the format, the organization format for the knowledge. This organization format as light hemisphere is the reach point up till the third step. The fourth step is beach. Formulation beach is of TC value 16. The value 16 is parallel with the value of the dimensional frame of four space. The dimensional frame of four space is a setup of a quadruple spatial dimensions. Quadruple spatial dimensions lead to value 2 raised to power 4. Therefore, the reach for further processing from this phase and stage is going to be a reach in terms of a spatial dimensional frame of a creator's space, a four space. See, we had begun with six space. Four space plays the role of dimension of six space. Four space itself is of a spatial order. The flow along the dimensional frame ultimately results into split of a dimensional frame into a pair of dimensional frames of half dimensions. This split of a dimensional frame into a pair of dimensional frames of half dimensions amounts to creation of a cavity at the origin seat. This creation of a cavity at the origin seat will provide inflow for the Jyoti flow from the orb of the sun. The Jyoti flowing within cavity at the origin will amount to the southern hemisphere getting fulfilled with a Jyoti. It is this reach which inherently is creating the origin for the southern hemisphere as well. And this origin of the southern hemisphere is going to be a creator's space role as a dimension. Therefore, the four space in the role of a dimensional frame for the southern hemisphere is the achievement, is the attainment, and the sadhakas are fulfilled with intensity efforts to be parallel with this organization of knowledge is to sit comfortably and to permit the transcending mind to be parallel with this happening up till the fourth step. We shall be continuing from this phase and stage in the coming session. Thank you very much.